Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Chris. If you haven't had a chance yet, please like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. Today we'll be covering cranking no starts on the early 2000s Chevy Silverado pickup trucks or GMC Sierras, 99 to 2003. I had two separate vehicles, trucks that had crank issues. And what it was crank sensor issues, really. First one was a super quick one, which is kind of like a no-brainer, but the second one is a more in-depth diagnosis of wiring, crank sensor signal, and reference voltage, the battery positive voltage wire. So just let me talk about the first one. The first one, a customer ended up replacing on his own a starter in his pickup truck, like, you know, we've all done, right? Well, he ended up, he didn't realize it, what he had done when he did that. And he called me and he's like, hey, it won't start now, so can you come check it out? So I actually went over there and checked it out, and ultimately what he did is, well, I'm trying to get the starter in and out. There's the crank sensor on these trucks are right above it. So by manipulating that in and out, he hit the signal wire, damaged it, and it wouldn't start. I was able to repair it there, and then he was good to go, started up, no problem. Crank sensor wiring issue there. Crank sensor wiring issue on the next one, which is pretty interesting. This customer actually, he had drivability concerns, intermittent starting and stopping. Like he'd be driving along and it would just kind of die on him. He was plowing one time and it ended up just dying on him. He was able to get it started and get it home, and then it died on him again. So he ended up, before he got a hold of me, he ended up replacing some parts. The customer did. He ended up like replacing the fuel pump, pressure regulator, cam sensor, crank sensor, and he's like, hey, I don't know what's going on here. So I end up going and checking it out. And, you know, first and foremost, if you want to rule out your fuel pump, if you can hear it kicking on, that's a really good first sign when you just turn the key to the accessory position. Then if you have fuel at your rail, the little Schrader valve, you can open that up on your rail and just depress that, and a little bit of fuel can shoot out. You know, you got to be careful, wear glasses, be safe. And if, you know, this is obviously if you're not working on cars all the time, but if you are, handy dandy fuel pressure, you know, tester that you can get to put on that fuel rail to verify that you're getting like 50 to 60 PSI. These trucks run about that, 50 to 60 PSI fuel pressure. Would have saved him, you know, quite a bit of money on that fuel pump. Plus he ended up, his fuel pump replacement that he did, he ended up, this isn't the truck, but this is a similar year truck. He ended up cutting out the box on the back and stuff like that. And, you know, there's some dangers involved with that, with fumes and gas and stuff like that. So I don't recommend that. I remember, you know, if you're going to replace it, you probably should drop the tank. So with those safety concerns in mind, he had replaced those items we talked about. And so then he called me, hey, it's not working right. Can you come check it out? I come check it out, and I put it on so Snap-on Modus Scanner D10. And basically it was showing me that it looked like the wiring was good, and that could very well have been because of the intermittent issues we were having. So like I'm looking for on your scan tool, you're looking for the RPMs, crank sensor RPMs, right? And it's got the RPMs, right? So, you know, it's looking like everything's good, but what ultimately ended up happening is I looked through some of the codes that they had, and like they had the 24X crank code, cam and crank issues, correlation, and what it came down to was on these trucks, they put the computer up in the front, the ECM, PCM, ECM. They put it up in the front, driver's side, front, like tire bay area in front of the tire. And there's a lot of debris and stuff that gets kicked up there. So what it ended up happening, and I did a visual inspection of those wires first, and they all initially looked good, right? But then later on, after going through all the computer stuff and the scanner, and I'm like, something else, I'm gonna have to check some more wiring out just to be sure, and looked into it a little bit more. And I actually took some pictures of the wires because they're kind of, you know, hard to see. And when I took a picture of it, I was able to blow the wires up on the picture. And that's when I noticed it was just a very, very small pinhole in the crank sensor wire. and when you blow it up, it's all green, and you can see the stranded copper wires. And there's only like 2 of them, like, you know, if there's 20 to 40 stranded wires, and there's quite a few of them. We're talking, this is only 0.33 big. 0.35 is the diameter of that, so it's a very, very tiny. And the color of that wire was, it was the blue and white one, a blue and white crank sensor position wire, and it's in the position of number 12 on your pinout. So you'll probably pull a pinout online of your truck's ECM's pinout, and it's number 12. So that was a crankshaft position sensor wire that was bad. But there's 2 other wires you're going to want to check out too. There's, in that circuit, there's 1867, 1868, and 1869. So when you pull that up, you might also want to pull up a wiring diagram and a schematic, just to so you got it, and they're all online. So, but what you're looking for is the blue and white wire, which is in position number 12 in your connector number 1, which is the connector that goes into the computer. There's 2 of them. There's a connector number 1 and a connector number 2, and we're talking about connector number 1, which is blue. And this blue one, you'll have those 3 wires. The one, and I'm just going to reiterate, the blue and white wire crankshaft position sensor signal wire. The next wire I'm going to talk about is a light green crankshaft position battery supply wire. Again, that's a light green. And the last wire in that circuit is going to be, that crankshaft position sensor B battery supply wire, that is light green, is in position 2. And in position 21 is the crankshaft position sensor ground, or low reference voltage. When you see low reference voltage, you know, in this case, consider it a ground. So those 3 wires, check them out. If you can kind of get down there, it's a workout to kind of get down there, and be careful that you're not, you know, over manipulating the wires or doing any damage. But check them out, take some pictures of it, and blow them up, because you might have like a pinhole in that one of those 3 wires. And in my case, it happened to be that crankshaft position sensor signal wire. And what's kind of strange is it was still showing intermittent, you know, that RPMs for the crank. So must have been just enough to where maybe it would send a little bit of the signal, but not enough. But that was the problem. Repaired that wire, no issues. So I hope this helps you. And it definitely, you know, it was definitely a workout trying to figure it out, especially when, you know, wiring is initially looking good. And when you got an intermittent problem like that, where it runs fine, you know, that's the problem. It's running fine. Well, there's probably something else like electrical going on, because that would be really the only thing that would cause that. So hopefully this helps you. You guys have a good one, and thanks for watching. Bye.